Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of Dialogues with Doc. Listen, I am so excited to be back with you guys once again for another amazing week and another amazing episode. Yes, that's right. If you know me, I am wearing purple and gold on tonight, but you know I'm a black and gold man all day. But I did not want to not start my show out tonight by shouting out to the oldest HBCU west of the Mississippi River. That's Paul Quinn College, my alma mater, class of 2004. Repping for my Quinnites on tonight. You saw us in the news this past week with the best, the most innovative, the most fly new gymnasium basketball court that's been on ESPN and everywhere else. So I could not start my show out tonight without representing my alma mater, class of 2004, SGA President, Alpha Phi Alpha, Honda Campus All-Star Challenge. All that was your boy, Homecoming King. Yeah, that was me back in the day, class 2004. Shout out to Paul Quinn College, 3837 Central Stewart, Dallas, Texas, 75241. I love each and every one of you guys. So I did want to start my show out tonight, shouting out the place where I grew up a whole lot. Shout out to Paul Quinn. Welcome to Dialogues with Doc tonight's show. It is Wednesday, October the 27th, 2021, and I'm so excited to be back with you guys for another amazing week, another amazing dialogue, another amazing episode of this thing. So listen, you guys know how we do this each and every week. I thank you guys so much for showing up. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Thank you guys so much for sharing. If you are watching the show for the first time, welcome. What's up, fam? Nice to meet you. Nice to have you. If you are a repeat watcher, I appreciate you guys even more. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me again on another Wednesday evening. We have a more amazing dialogue on a host of different topics. If you are watching the show, you guys know I cannot start my show out without asking this question. Where are you watching it from? So if you're watching the show tonight, where are you watching and where are you joining us from? One day someone will say, I'm watching from Africa. I'm speaking it. One day somebody will say, I'm watching from Zimbabwe. I'm watching from New Zealand. So, I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there so that when it happens, you will know that I said that thing on October 27th, 2021, and it actually did happen. I am holding it down for the entire DMV area, the DC, the Maryland, and the Virginia area. I'm holding it down for the whole DMV. Guys, pray for me. Tonight, I'm going to attempt to do this show with these rubber bands in my mouth. I'm going to keep these things in. Last week, they bothered me. I snatched them out, but I'm going to keep it cool and collective and calm today on the show. So I'm going to do my best to do this thing. So I'm going to slow my words down and get them out and enunciate properly. Boris, how are you, man? Thanks for watching. Dallas is in the building. I just left Dallas. Unfortunately, I had to go home this weekend for a good friend of mine who passed away unexpectedly. So shout out to Reginald Dunlap, man. I'm thankful for your years of friendship. Thank you for your years of brotherhood. I could not come to Dallas and not pay my respects. So I thank you for being a part of my life and being so influential, man. You were a brother doing this thing as well in the podcast area as well. You're going to be truly missed, man. But I want to shout out to Reggie as well. And shout out to Dallas for rocking with me. So tonight's show is going to be a great show. I have an amazing guest joining me on tonight. Okay. I'm gonna do this. I can do this. These connectors are driving me insane. I'm gonna do this. If you're watching the show for the very first time, we have this show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We have a host and a range of different topics for any and everybody. So we've had shout out to Goody Howard, a good friend of mine who was on, gave us a sex therapy class. We've had a show called Parenting in a Pandemic, which was pretty dope. Had some parents on the line, had a show called Black Males in Higher Ed, Black Females in Higher Ed, Black Females in Education. I've done shows on foster dads. I've done shows on houses, like the influence of a house, like having a house mother and a house father. Also done some shows on living your best life. Just a bunch of different shows that I've done, and they're all chronicled on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and you can always get an alert when I am about to go live and do the show each and every week. But every show we've ever done since August of 2020 is in chronological order on the YouTube page. So if you're watching, you can go back there. If you're on the Facebook page, if you're on the Facebook side, even go to the Dialogues with Doc Facebook page. The shows are on the page as well. You can always catch a recap. You can always go back and watch a show if you missed something like that. So yeah, go ahead and support. Also, the podcast is coming back. Did a couple of episodes for the Dollars with Doc podcast, which is just a small snippet of this live show each and every week. I need to get some more equipment to make it more efficient. So I now have the equipment. So guys, hold tight. More episodes of the Dollars with Doc podcast are coming. So if you can't watch the show like this physically, there will be an audio version coming where you can download off of Anchor, Spotify, and I'm working on Apple Music as well. So yeah, I've been working these last couple of weeks on getting some things fine-tuned and tweaked just to make sure that the content that I put out each and every week and that the guests that I bring on are so much better. Also, if you watched last week's Black Male Mental Health Check-In, I am going to do that show again because there was some issues on that end because the internet and stuff like that were not the best. So I want to redo that show again. So if you watched that show last week, hold tight for me. I definitely want to redo that show for you guys and make sure it is of the best quality and the best content for you guys to be able to enjoy it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Like I said, I've been working on some things in the back. In the midst of, y'all continue to pray for us educators. This is a rough year. I'm tired of the word quarantine and contact tracing and all that good stuff. So yeah, just pray for us educators as we continue to push through this pandemic. They don't want to say we are essential workers, but we are. I'm an essential worker each and every day. Shout out to the educators out there doing their thing each and every day to support our scholars in no matter what area of the capacity, if it's the classroom, if it's the janitor, if it's the security officer, whatever you're serving in, whatever capacity you're serving in the schools. We appreciate you guys for doing what it is that you do. Again, if you are watching, let me know where you're watching from. I appreciate you guys joining us for another amazing episode. I have another amazing guest joining me here shortly. And it's been a long time coming, but we finally got our schedules to connect to make this thing happen. But yeah, if you're watching, let me go ahead and cue this up so I can bring on my guest the right way, the right Dialogues with Doc way. Let me set this up. Hope everybody's having an amazing week thus far. Hump day, we are almost over that hump. Keep pushing. Friday will be here shortly. And if you're going out this weekend, please be safe because people are crazy. Let me see. Here we go. All right, let me set this up, cue this up for my guests, guys. If you guys know, this is Dialogues with Doc. We only bring our guests on one way, the Dialogues with Doc way. So let me get my guests queued up to come in, and we'll be right back after these messages. Brother, how are you, man? Can you hear me? Cory, you there? I think he froze on me. Uh-oh, hold on.
I am good. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
No, you're frozen. I can see you, but you're frozen. Let me take you out and put you back in. Hold on tight. Okay, there you go. I see.
Hey.
I see you, but you're frozen on me. Hold on, let me see what's going on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's a still picture of you, and I saw you before. Okay, there you go. Okay, there we go. How are you, man?
Okay, so we're gonna make this work. So,
hold on, y'all. That's that Teddy Riley spirit. I rebuke it right now. Hold on, we're gonna get this to work. Hold on. Hold tight. Hold on. I'm gonna take him out. I'm gonna put him back in. I hear you.
I'm good.
Where'd he go? Y'all hold on. Be patient. This is gonna be good.
Okay.
This is happening for a reason.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Okay. Now I see you, and I can hear you. I can see you, but it keeps freezing on me. So it's like you keep getting this still shot and go away.
Yeah, because I'm closing everything so I can get my.
Let me ask you, which are you using Chrome, the Chrome browser? gonna get this together. Hold on. Be patient. Be patient. Y'all hold on. Y'all hold on. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. Hold tight. Hold tight. Hold tight. Hold tight. Hold tight. He's coming, y'all. Hold on. There is. Hold on. Oh. All right. So he's gonna log out and log back in. Guys, wait patiently. But while you're waiting, where you watching from? Um, hope you guys are practicing social distancing still. Hope you guys are still taking care of yourselves. Still keep washing your hands, wiping stuff off left and right. Just practicing those safety precautions to continue keeping us safe because we're going to be wearing these masks for a while, I believe. If you haven't gotten vaccinated, please consider. I am fully with my booster, so I'm feeling pretty good, feeling pretty good, feeling pretty good. No major side effects. I slept good. That wasn't a side effect. That was just me needing some rest. So yeah, if you haven't considered getting the vaccine, please do so. If you got your booster and you qualify for your booster, get it. Yeah, all that good stuff. Okay, hold tight. Let me bring my guest back in. Okay,
Hey,
there you
hey,
go.
hey, hey.
There you
So I'm on
go.
my phone now, so this is not the best view, but I had to be on, so I'm not going to let you down.
No,
So
you're good. If you turn your phone to the side, it'll fit you in the box. It should.
let's see if that works. Okay,
There you go.
I'm just fixing the view of it now. I have to prop the phone. That's
Okay.
all, because we're not
No,
going to
you're
let this
good.
pass us by. We're not going
Oh
to let this
no,
moment
not
pass us by. All right. So
not at all.
I'm making this work because I'm on dialogue with Doc. All right. So is that better?
That works. That works, brother. How are you,
Awesome.
man?
I am
Man,
tired.
I totally understand. Listen, Wednesdays seem to be like the day where we just try to crash and we have to just keep pushing. I know it's called hump day, but it's like, can I just go to sleep today and just wake up and it's Monday again? No, I
Yeah,
totally understand.
well, today was a special, well, not so special, but an interesting day because of the work I do is highly emotional. I have to do a repository for people with deal with things. So today I had to do an intervention. I had to intervene with a family.
Wow.
Um, for me, that's a privilege for me
Hmm.
because I'm really committed to seeing Black families thrive. So although I was working with one client, I said, well, your support system is not really, the best right now. So I drove about an hour and a half to go visit this family and sit for a few hours. And we came out of there with some truth that hurt first, but it felt better afterwards. And I came back and I had to take a nap. So,
Listen, man, I totally understand. It's like the work demands have significantly magnified to the point where you're like, I just got to take a nap. Like, let me just
yeah,
take a nap for a minute to just keep me together. Because if I don't take this nap, it's gonna be yeah, I'm gonna
well,
be
yeah,
burnt
and
out.
it's very important that we, just like the people we help or the things we feel, our body is always asking for that energy to be let out. So when we don't let it out,
Exactly,
that's what shuts us down.
exactly.
So I'm very cognizant of saying, hey, I'm tired. Like my kids, like Daddy loves me. Can I get a half hour? Can I just get an hour? And then I'll be all yours. You know.
Look, well,
Yeah.
can I get an hour tonight, please?
Yeah.
I got you for an hour, so
Yes. Oh
I'm
no,
gonna
I told them.
monopolize.
Oh no, I told them. No, listen, I turned off the phones. I said, kids, I'm not going to be free till about 9:30, and you guys are old enough to know how to survive. You'll be fine.
I love it. I love it. So let's just jump into this thing, man. I listen. This has been a long time coming. I'm appreciative of you and for you. Thank you for saying yes. We finally got our
Absolutely.
schedules to connect to make this thing
Absolutely.
happen. So let's jump into this one-on-one with Cory. So Cory, just tell us a little bit about you, about a little bit about Cory and what life was like for Cory growing up.
Life for me was now looking back, I can describe it differently now, but
Hmm.
life for me was very interesting. I moved around a lot. There was a lot of trauma and turmoil. Dealing with things such as the loss of my first mother figure, which is my grandmother. I
Hmm.
lost her at 7, and then
Wow.
had to deal with trying to struggle to fit into my natural family, which is my mom and dad, and that took a while. I moved around about 8 times during my like during the school age years. Was
Hmm.
raised in Louisiana and Texas, so I got a mix of country and a mix of twang. Yeah, it shows in my cooking and shows when I'm drinking. You can hear it. And just not really being a product of trauma, but experiencing it and understanding now how it showed up in everything I did until I knew what it
Hmm.
was. Um, and sometimes with trauma, you actually forget the good times because you're so keen on bracing yourself for the fallout. You
Yeah.
forget that you had some good times. And I have to tell myself, Corey, it wasn't all that bad, you know? And working with clients in those veins is I'm always trying to remind them or ask them, well, tell me something good because something good was there, but sometimes having to deal with the trauma, it kind of suffocates that for you. So, and now I'm just in the space where I'm raising my kids. I'm doing the work I love. I don't
Hmm.
complain because I'm in a space where I think it's a privilege to do what you love and get
Hmm.
paid for it. And
Oh yeah.
also seeing lives affected. And as I tell people, I may not know maybe like a year down the line that someone has actually been affected, but right now I can't say that I regret anything. I'm in school for my doctorates now, so
That's what I'm talking
I
about.
really can't say anything bad about my life right now.
I love it. I love everything you said. And trust me, I'm over here not being real. I'm over here jotting
Oh
stuff
no,
down
I
as you
saw it.
talk.
Oh no, I saw it. I'm the same
so
way.
so when I want to go back to something you said about the trauma.
Hmm.
You made a very profound statement when you said trauma makes us forget the good times. But I remember I'm about to date myself and you. I remember the Facts of Life theme song. You take the good, you take the bad, you take
Yeah,
them both, and then you had the Facts of Life. Trauma will make us forget about, you know what? Yeah, it was bad, but there was some good things in there. I remember one Christmas I thought was so bad because I only got one thing for Christmas. But when my mom shared the story with me, well, baby, this is all I had money for. Initially you're like, well, dang, my Christmas was bad. But when I hear the story behind, well, this is all she had money for at this time,
yeah.
it wasn't as bad as I thought. But I thought it was so traumatic that everyone else got all these things and I only got this. But no, I love how you said trauma makes you forget. But there are some good points in the midst of all of that, man. So I thank you for sharing that. I always wanted to ask this question, so because I have you tonight, I want to ask it.
Okay, all
can
right.
can can you describe what it means to be a mental health counselor? So people have different definitions of it, but how does Corey George define this? This is what I do, and yeah, it's a lot, and I'm trying to keep myself together, but I'm called. I have a calling
Yeah.
to support other people in this capacity.
Well, I had the fortunality to enter the official mental health counseling realm in my 40s. I didn't come out of college at 20 still learning who I was because our brains really don't start developing until 30. So
Hmm.
by that time, we're already counselors while we're still developing our brain and helping other people to then develop healing. So I came into this keenly aware of what I wanted to be in this field. Um, and as I tell my clients when I meet them, I'm here to be your mental health healing partner. I will show you how to drive the car, but I don't want you to be in service with me forever. My goal is to let you fly, you know?
Hmm.
So for me, it's about partnering with people and not only helping them to understand their assets, because the fact that you are here today means that you have some resilience. And the fact that you didn't take yourself out or you were not taken out, I have to remind you that you're resilient. So
Hmm.
the issue is, I don't want you to always be resilient because in the face of resilience, there has to be a stressor. So you're only resilient when there's a stressor. But if you're resilient every day, Calvin, that's exhausting, right?
Yes, it
So
is.
maybe I don't want to be resilient on Thursday. I don't want to be resilient on Sunday, but maybe Wednesday and Tuesday stuff happens. So how do we use your natural assets? How do we employ, the resources that you may not have, thought to take advantage of? And how do we look at the way that you're thinking about your situation? And it's more difficult when you're dealing with childhood trauma or childhood things because that's happening while your brain is developing. That's happening
Hmm.
while your brain is choosing how do I respond to these types of things. So
Yeah.
what most folks don't understand is when you're dealing with trauma at a young age, so whatever skill you don't have that you don't have to cope with something, your brain kind of throws that whole thing away.
Throw it away.
So when people say, well, get over it or try something new, what they're failing to tell you is it has to become a habit all over again because you've never done that before.
Wow.
But then as you're learning, because your brain is wonderful that it has this plasticity that it can learn new ways, but it has to become a new habit. So I tell people, take your time. You've been holding on to this for 30 years, baby. It's going to take you more than 30 days. And often with the men is what I see is we don't give ourselves grace because someone told us we got to take it on the chin and keep going. But where's the
Yeah.
grace built in saying that my chin hurts? So I took it on the chin, but my damn chin hurts. Where's the band-aid?
Hmm.
But also no one's telling you how to take it off your chin. Yeah, it's on here.
That
So
part.
my chin is this long with with years of stuff, but you told me to just take it on the chin. But no one's yeah, but no one's saying it's
The,
okay to take that off. And now when you seek help, you don't know which place to start. So mental health helps. So dealing with clients, I kind of help them to kind of unweave that and say, what is the biggest thing that you feel is your obstacle? Because you may have four.
yeah. If we can
And if you're
focus on
thinking
the
about all
one.
four all day, then you're going to be
Yeah.
stressed out. But how about in this session, we focus on one thing at a time and give you the well, first the grace to say it's going to take time. The first thing. The
Hmm.
second thing is we have to probably undo everything that kept you safe
Yeah.
because the
We
things we employ in childhood, such as avoidance, such as hiding, and all this, it doesn't really fare well as an adult.
as an adult.
So
Nope.
we have to undo the things that that cause you to be safe. So on the outside, for example, if you see someone that doesn't know how to talk about issues or is hiding, we judge that saying, okay, well, he or she doesn't know what to do. But for her, that's her safety. That's safety for her.
Hmm.
But we see it as, oh, you're running from me. No, she's running to save her life.
That's all. That's all that she knows. All she knows
Yeah,
is to avoid so I don't have to deal. Let me avoid, like you said, to save my life. Let me avoid
yeah,
to diffuse confrontation. No, you're on it. I want to go
yeah,
back to something that you said.
sure.
Uh, you said mental health healing partner. And it's
Absolutely.
funny and it's funny because it adds to last week's conversation when I had the young man on about an accountability partner. So when you say counselor can have a negative connotation to it, but when you say partner, that means that lets you someone know I'm in the struggle with you. I'm here to help. I'm here to assist. Yeah, I'm going to hold you accountable. But when you say mental health partner, it adds a different lens to someone seeking help to say, hey, I got you. I got your back. I'm
Yeah,
here to help you. I'm here to help you build your resilience and help you be here to help you build your resilience and help you know what your stressors are, as well
yeah,
as figuring out what your triggers are.
yeah. And so for me, I kind of approach this as I got to do what I got to do. So in some sessions with grown people, I'm on the floor with them, as they're crying, I'm like, that's not the adult version of you crying, that's the kid. So I'm gonna get on the floor with that kid, and I'm gonna comfort you and tell you everything your mother and father probably should have said to you, so we can erase the fact that no one cared. I'm gonna tell you exactly what you should have heard. And there's times it's like, I feel great now. It's like, well,
Hmm.
all you needed was the assurance that you were okay. And
Yeah.
there's times that I've left the office completely wiped because I was on the floor with you while you were in full tears, or I had to calm you down. Or in some cases, I show up in a place where you don't expect. I have a client that, for example, they had an appointment for something and no one ever showed up for them. It was a medical thing. And
Hmm.
he told me when the appointment was. I said, so where are you going to be? So I showed up at the appointment. And he was like, well, why are you here? I said, I told you I'm your partner. So if I got to model what support should look like if you've never felt it, when you leave this office, you know what to ask for so you know what to ask your friends and family for. This is what your support looks like.
Exactly.
I said it cost me nothing if I was free, to do that. But now you know what that's supposed to feel like. Because how can you ask for something if you've never experienced it?
That's good.
How can you ask? How can you tell someone how to love you if you never ever felt love? Or you ever
Hmm.
or your definition was so skewed that every time you got it, it was still hazardous for you.
It's. I told an associate of mine at work recently, you have to inspect what you expect from people. So I can't say I want you to do this project here and not inspect it every now and then to make sure that you give me the expected outcome. When you haven't had, like you said, the client has never had anyone actually show that they cared and go to the doctor with them and it's something that many of us take for granted, but it's something that
Yeah,
someone else, like your client, has never experienced, so they don't know how to or what to feel when Mr. Cory shows up. Like, yeah, I'm your mental health partner. I'm here to help you
yeah.
navigate this thing called life. And you're going to get through this, but now I'm going to show you what you need to expect moving forward from not just me, but just anybody in general who says that they have your back. Listen,
Well,
you
yeah, yeah.
go
And
ahead.
also, and I had a phrase that came into my head right before right, and these things happen. That's why I feel like it's the universe talking. So I think the work I do, I always make myself available. I never think I know everything. So before I start doing anything, I just say, let me be available to what the universe says. So there was a message that came to me maybe 2 minutes, like 2 minutes prior, and it said, if you love me, you should know. And that's powerful because how many times have, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but I have way in the past, said, if you love me, you should know how to treat me. Then I say, but you never told me how to love you specifically, though. Now I can love you the way
Mm,
I love my sister, brother, or my ex, but I never met
yeah,
you yet. So
yeah,
that would be wrong of me to just love you in a way that is so static that I never take into consideration your special needs. And that's when we have to understand I will communicate something. So I won't assume anything. I will say, listen, this is what I need. I know you didn't know before, but this is how I need you to show up for me. And I think again, we go with the assumption that love means we know everything. But
that's
love is a
good.
learning process. Love is learning, meaning I still, I have kids that are 14 and 17. By next year, I may need to love them a different way because they're growing.
Hmm.
And they have to tell me, well, Dad, I know last year we did this, but maybe this year I need something else, you know?
You
So
gotta be cognizant of that kind of stuff. Like you
yeah.
said,
And that
it's
all begins with knowing how or having the freedom to actually communicate. And that starts early. That starts very early. I remember talking with my kids before they could talk. And so now we talk about everything because I didn't grow up that way. And I said, I don't want them to experience most of what I've been through because they will be a product of my upbringing if I slip up, because I am my
oh
mom's
yeah.
child, I'm my dad's kid. I will say something and say, damn, that sounds like him. And I'm like, but did that work? Or if it didn't work, I have to go back and fix that. So it's just being aware, but
Yeah.
also, again, knowing how to have open dialogue and know that there's a safe space to have that dialogue. Even if it burns a little bit, it'll settle.
Mhm. Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
You have to know how to have those type of dialogues. And I know that in this role you have taken on now, dialogue is very important. So what made you decide to become a life coach? I've been trying to have a life coach on my show for a minute, and I
well,
finally got one tonight.
yeah, well, I was a life coach before I became a mental health counselor. So it really was because I had overcome a lot of my own trauma by myself. But one thing I said, I don't want people to do that by themselves because that was a
Mhm.
hot mess. It was a hot mess when you don't have support because you're
Yeah.
trying things in the dark. You're taking stabs. And if you don't know, you're just trying everything. So you fall a little more often. So for me, it was about guiding people who had the skills because
Hmm.
because life coaching is about taking people who may need direction, but have the basic skills to pull things off and
Yeah.
to really focus on their strengths. Mental health is part of that too, but it also takes a look at the past. It also is about diagnosis. It's about going deeper. So now I combine both. So that's why my practice is sometimes a little different because there are some days I'm coaching while I'm counseling or I'm counseling while I'm coaching. But I always say, I'm going to be in the car with you. I may even drive you the next block, but this car is yours. I don't want to own your car. I want you to be
Oh
able
yeah.
to drop me off at the bus stop and go about your business. You know?
If you got a license.
Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I want you driving my car without no license and you have an accident. No, it's so true. And I feel like everyone should, this is me personally speaking, I feel like everyone should have at least one session with a life coach and a counselor or therapist just to
Hmm.
say they've done it. I was telling someone recently about how we as black men, we have insurance on our job, but many of us rarely use it. Why the hell am I paying for it if I'm not going to use it? There's also
Oh,
something called EAP that they have that gives us resources, free resources to see a therapist or see
absolutely.
a life coach,
Absolutely.
something like that we could potentially have access to that is right there. Everything we need is there being provided for us, but we don't take advantage of the resources that we have. And I feel like it hurts us in the long run because you're now going to the doctor finally, and you find you have stage 4 of this or whatever. When you've been
Yeah.
paying for this stuff, and we just never took the time to take advantage of it.
No, and no, absolutely. And it really is about understanding that this is a generational thing. I don't think the young ones grew up thinking on their own, I'm not going to go see a counselor. We have to
Hmm.
take a look at the influences, at home, because we're quick to say, so we don't take anything outside the house.
Oh yeah.
But my problem is, but it's happening in the house. So why would you not take it out the house? That's where the poison is.
Why the hell I want to leave it here if this is
Right,
where it's
right.
this is the
And so
conduit of
basically,
it?
yeah. And so basically you're like saying, I'm being abused, but just stay in the house and just keep being abused. I Okay. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but then, back in the day, especially when we talk about religion also, it made us feel that we had to make a choice between our faith and
Yeah.
counseling. We literally felt like we had to make a choice. If I go to counseling, that means that I must not have faith. But I said, well, you don't think that there's spiritual counselors? You don't think that counselors go to church? Like you don't think that we can have an anointing on our skill and our craft, you know? So I think that now it's becoming more common that, like for me, so the school I go to, it's a Christian school, so I have a spiritual counseling background. So I'm like, and I'm black, and I'm a male, and I'm gay. So you have all of this within me. And I think also the thing about it is, um, we're still working to take away those myths and barriers that were fed to us by our parents, by other
Yeah.
people, or that shame of, if I'm going to see a counselor, then I must be broken. No, sometimes you go to a counselor just to make sure you're okay.
Exactly. Just to do
I
the
mean,
spot check to make
yeah.
sure I'm not shocked
Listen,
or
I have,
hurt anywhere.
and and the reason why I am so focused on trauma, and that's my studies for my doctorate, is unresolved trauma is killing us as a people. I was talking
Yeah.
with the family earlier, and it's a young man, and I said he's having body pains, and I said, but that's not normal for him. I said that's stress. I
Hmm.
said he's having body pains, and I asked his mom. I said, so, what are you experiencing these days? Well, she said, I have IBS. I said, so your IBS could actually be related to unresolved trauma. It may not be IBS. I said, are you having joint pains? Is your back hurting? Are you having a headache? And she said, all of those. I said, yeah.
See?
Okay. Um, So we think that because, mental health has to show up mentally, like we have to see somebody going through something, but sometimes it's the same thing that causes heart disease. When our
Yeah.
body is under stress, our body employs these mechanisms to try to fight the stress. It's just like if you're ill, your body
Yeah.
has an immune system, right?
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with unresolved stress, your body employs hormones and activities in the body to try to bring your body back to what we call, well, it's its natural level. So whatever your normal heart rate is, your normal blood sugar levels, all that, your body works to do that. But just imagine if your body's doing that all day every day. Your body starts to think this is the new baseline. So now your baseline for normal becomes higher. So that's why
Yeah.
some people who are not, that's why some people who are working out every day, who are eating healthy, can still have hypertension. And it's not because you're eating bad, it's because there's something that's working in your body that keeps activating your stress hormones.
There's an there,
That's
there,
why you
there-
see
there's
it.
an
Yeah,
there's an infection, and what do
yeah,
infections do? What do infections do when they aren't treated? They continue to grow. So you go so long with this untreated trauma, like you said, this, unresolved issues and untreated trauma that continues to exacerbate to
yeah,
where it is now. You're like, man, like you said, the kid earlier, he's dealing with stuff from his childhood that he has never been able to touch or resolve. And now he's an adult living in a child's body, and you're like I said, you're on the floor
well,
crying
yeah,
for comfort, trying to help nurse them back to some form
well,
of
and and also the thing about it is, as I said earlier, all our emotions are just energy trying to escape. So
mhm.
I told somebody, I said, you felt like crying, did you? I said, well, why'd you stop? He was like, well, I didn't want to cry. I said, so you suffocated your emotions at that moment. You decided I'm not gonna cry, and you push those emotions back in your body. Now you're going to feel it somewhere. I said, I guarantee you, you're probably going to have a headache because you did not let your body use its natural resources to get your emotions out. I said, would you rather cry or punch a wall as you normally do? I said, you give me
Wow.
the choice because you had a moment there to let it out, but something is telling you that that's not the safe way to do it. but punching a wall and then paying the
Yeah.
cost of that is better for you. So I said the reason why you punched the wall is because you didn't cry. The reason why you didn't punch the wall is because you didn't talk it out because your body's telling you, I need to get this out.
Yeah.
So like joy. So like when you're happy and joy, you want to go do something. Like you want to go, buy some new shoes, go out to the bar, have a fancy cocktail. That's expression. And then once you're done, you're done. But with the negative emotions, it's hard for us because there's, it's a fear of judgment. Also, somebody didn't show us that it was okay. It's very, very important for people to understand that the role of parenting so when a child is born up to probably the age of 1, my job is to make sure that I comfort my children to show them how to regulate their emotions, to show them it's
Hmm.
okay to feel safe and secure with me. Because
Yeah.
if I don't do that, that runs the risk of when when they start to get older, they don't know how to moderate their feelings. So like in school, so if a child acts up, we think it's bad behavior, but usually children don't have words, so they use behavior. So if we trace the root of it, and I ask, so like if I go into school and say, well, I understand you threw your plate, across the room, but but if you tell me, how are you feeling at that time? And they say, I don't know. I said, so what did your body feel? So as was your heart rate, fast, but you feel clammy, did you feel nervous? And then I get to the root of this wasn't because the child is bad. This is because the child experienced something that they have no outlet for.
Hmm. They didn't get to eat
And
breakfast this morning.
yeah,
they, they
and so
they
what?
they they
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah,
have any clean clothes to wear to school for a
yeah.
uniform. So they had
Or
to wear something else.
well, either that, or we don't know what that path was between when you leave the door to your house and you get to school. We don't know what that
Exactly.
pathway also entails. So then when we tend to punish that behavior in the ways that it's okay to find a way to have exploratory talks with children. So one
Hmm.
of my goals with my so one of my goals is to go into schools and to help them to become uh, a trauma informed school. And do I think it's the teachers, means to do that? Not if, no, because you guys are teachers. But I do think basic education about it and understanding, well, hey, there may be a deeper conversation if we know the signs of maybe, the child may be having abuse issues, all these things. And also, if we look at bullying, most bullies have experienced or are going through something at the time.
Hmm.
So if you punish, the bully, that kid is still saying, but no one's helping me though. Like you
Yeah.
punishing me for acting out, but I'm acting out because I have no control elsewhere in my life.
That's good. That's good.
That's a
I
whole
want to
conversation. So yeah, so that could be the whole hour. But
you
uh,
but I want to go back to the trauma thing.
uh-huh.
Because 99.99% of people in the world have experienced trauma in some shape or form. But how has Corey George implemented some strategies to overcome some of yours? So think about, the things you've gone through. What are some of your best practices to overcome or deal with some trauma that you may have experienced?
Well, I think for me is because I wrote it in my book. It's the first chapter is to tell the truth,
Hmm.
to tell yourself the truth of what happened. Because sometimes there are times when we experience something so painful that we only remember the highlight points. And
Hmm.
sometimes we cast blame wrongly on ourselves or even other people. But then once we're able to do that in a safe space, and sometimes you telling the truth, that also requires a counselor because you can't deal with
Yeah.
it. Um,
Yeah.
but to have someone work with you, in those training events. So if you're going through something and you blamed yourself as a child, someone can help you to reverse that negative thought pattern. So now
Hmm.
you don't feel like you deserve abuse. You don't feel like you have to act out. You don't feel judged because if you start blaming yourself, that shows up in all of your other, you know, um, in your other areas of life. And so that's the first thing is to tell the truth. And then secondly, wow, I used to say forgiveness, but I don't say that anymore. Um,
Okay.
that's a timing thing, and I don't even use the word forgiveness anymore because that's a heavy word for people.
Yes, it
I say
is.
liberation. So the word I
Mm.
use instead of forgiveness is liberation because that's simply freedom. That doesn't mean that you have to tell someone you want your freedom. That doesn't mean that you have to forgive someone for your freedom. But the goal is freedom.
I
It's
love it.
freedom from the consequences of something that's already happened. and it's like a tape that keeps playing over and over again. And unfortunately, what happens is if you haven't if you have not resolved that trauma, you then mistake other cues as reminders of that trauma, and you respond as if the trauma is happening all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, you have to deal with the fallout of what you may have done. So if you're in fighting mode, then you're fighting everybody or everything. Or if you're like, there are some people that when they see that reminder or they feel it, they freeze. They literally just get stiff
It's
and
like
they
a
can't
deer in
move.
headlights.
Yeah,
Like
they
a deer
can't
in
move.
headlights.
Or they run.
Man.
Yeah. So um, that's what I talk about. First is always the truth, man. First is always prime yourself to tell the truth. But if you feel you can't do it by yourself, get someone who can partner with you, who can safely work you through that. Because I deal with stuff like um, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is very deep. Uh, so I'm dealing with people that if they hear fireworks, they're like under the bed, or if they see a strange person that reminds them of something they've experienced, in terms of
Mm-hmm.
so for example, I had someone that passed by a laundromat and smelled the bleach in the laundromat
Oh wow.
and called me and said, I had a moment because it reminded me of something. But then they said, but you gave me the skills to cope. I took my time and I breathed and I knew that my goal was to go to Walmart and I'm safe. This is not happening. So I was happy to hear that first they recognized it was a trigger. Secondly, they used the tools when it was time for them to use it and realized that they're still safe. And that's one of the goals of the trauma counseling is to make people realize you're safer than you know. You just are confusing the triggers and it makes it feel like it's happening again.
Mm-hmm. No, I love how you said that because once you know what your triggers are, I can remember what Mr. Cory told me on how to
Yeah,
tackle this or how I can circumvent and go this direction or that direction.
absolutely.
But you gotta be willing to put in the work to realize what those triggers actually are.
And
I
also
want to go back.
boundaries too. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
and also
boundaries.
boundaries are important because when you're dealing with a lot, your boundaries will be more restrictive because you're keeping yourself safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you become comfortable, I tell people, but this is what like boundaries change when you feel safe. So you may be so your boundaries may have you in a circle this big, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then as you get safer, that circle becomes like this, and it gets wider because you know how to operate in all those domains safely. So that means if you're restrictive, that's okay. If it makes you feel safe, do what you need to do, but make your boundaries a top priority. But we have an issue. So, like for example, I dealt with childhood rape. My body boundaries were off. So I didn't know what body boundaries are because I was violated. So no one taught me body boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when you see people that, sometimes we judge, when we see people who are, overly sexual or maybe a bit more provocative than we think the average person should be,
They
we
know.
tend to judge and say, "Oh, this person is doing this or that." I say, but me being the person I am, I'm always asking myself, I wonder what their story is. I wonder what their story is. This person may not know that they're doing this because they were so violated that to them their body is detached from their mind. So it's just a body to them. It's like a rag doll. Like you do whatever you do, but it doesn't mean much to me because it's so convoluted. And so
Mm-hmm.
then we have to teach people about personal intimacy and how to be intimate with self. So that way you can protect yourself and know that it's okay to have boundaries in that area.
Oh yeah, I love how you said what's their story? Like you said, as humans, we're so quick to say, why she dressed like that? Or why he got that on? Or
Hmm.
why? But everybody has a story. And I'm glad you said that because as I'm working in the schools and trying to teach my high school students how to um, let me start over. How to come back into a building that they've been out of for 18 months
Hmm.
and be able to coexist with people who may not look like them, who may not dress like them, who may not act like them. Like you said, think of it from a lens of what's their story. Like I had a young lady and a young man the other day. They had a little issue, and I would say, "Well, maybe he likes you. Maybe he thinks you're cute." I said, "She's like, well, no, he don't. You never know. You could possibly be that Christina Milian to his Nick Cannon to help him get his game up to actually
Right.
ask the young lady out that he actually likes or whatever." But they don't understand the boundary piece of, everybody has a story, and some people you're there to help and assist along their journey, but you're so caught up in the deer in headlights syndrome that you don't even think about the bigger picture. So I'm still in that tomorrow. I know I'll probably end up having to do a mediation with some students to say, have you thought about what their story is? Why you're having this issue?
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that for free.
And
Um,
yeah, yeah, and you
let's
should,
go.
Oh, go ahead, please.
No, keep going. 'Cause I'm trying to. I'm going through these questions that I drafted up as we flow. So keep going.
No, I was saying because, like for example, the kids are going back to school. And as you know, my daughter's trans, right? So um when she was in school the last time when school was open, she was hit, she was Tyler, my son.
Mm-hmm.
And so she transitioned during COVID, and now she's Jade. And I remember the first day of school, I was worried because I'm like, you're like the school doesn't know you as Jade. Of course, she transitioned over Zoom, but ain't nobody paying attention. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be, aware that it may be a hard first week for you because they don't know Jade. They know you as Tyler. And she texted me from the bathroom and broke my heart. And she said, I'm in the bathroom. I'm like, why are you in the bathroom? Because I knew her lunch period. I'm like, why are you in the bathroom? She said, because no one recognized me and I'm going to spend my lunch in the bathroom stall because I felt lonesome. And it broke my heart because I'm like, so you need me to go out to school and buy some lunch and eat with you? Like I was ready to go. But
Yeah.
I said, no, she's going to be okay. And so I told her, I said, you're going to be fine. I said, you have to reintroduce yourself to the people that knew you as Tyler. And I said, and also I said, brace for the fact that some kids are not going to know how to deal with it, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
personal to you. They just don't know your story. So, and now after that week, last week she ran for homecoming queen. I was so proud of her. She ran for homecoming queen. She went to someone else's homecoming. She was dressed up. I was like, that's. And when I realized this, no matter what sex she chose, the essence of my child was still there.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I'm on her journey with her. I told her, I said, you're transitioning, but as a family, we're transitioning. And I said, I had a hard time because I had to grieve the loss of my son.
Mm-hmm.
So these are conversations we have at home, like these real, real things. Because she was like, but you seem uncomfortable. I said, because the day you decided that you were going to go as Jade was not the day that we all flipped the switch either. I said your little
Right.
brother lost his big brother, so he may be hurt. So I had to have talk with him because it took him a while to start seeing she, and she took it personal. I said no, no, because he idolized Tyler. Now you're
Mm-hmm.
asking him to idolize you as a sister. I said, I still have to grieve Tyler because I had ambitions and dreams and things I thought you were
Yeah.
going to do. And now it's different. And I said, I never had a daughter. 17 years of parenting, I've never had a daughter. So I said, now I have more issues with you
Wow.
being a daughter than being a son, but it's funny. Yeah.
And I'm over here, and you saw me laughing because we we stress so much over. And I guess it's just how we were raised,
Hmm.
and I say that because I had a student this past year as well go through the exact same thing. So when my student came back in the building this year, when they left, they were a male. When they came back, they transitioned to being a female. So I'm like you, Cory. I was nervous. I didn't know how the kids were
Hmm.
going to receive her. I didn't know how the school community was going to embrace. This
Hmm.
young lady ran for homecoming queen the other week. So when you saw telling Jade's story, I'm like, we had the same experience, similar experience in my high school that I work in. It was one of those things where, okay, guys, we know this is coming. How can we, as a team of administrators and teachers and leaders, how can we begin to have those conversations? Let's start addressing using the right pronouns.
Hmm.
Let's start by addressing safe spaces for those students. So what are the gender neutral bathrooms? What are the plans we can put in place to support them? Because I'm on the student support side of helping ensure that we have the right parameters in place for them to feel safe, for them to feel comfortable, to tell my teachers,
Hmm.
hey, you may not agree with this style of transition, but that doesn't negate the fact that you still have to give them a good, high quality education. So I'm still holding to the exact same standard, whether it was D or whether it's J. I need you whichever and address my scholars by the right name. So no, this is so amazing to think that things that we would have struggled with in school, when if our babies were growing up from the time that we grew up in, they're flying and excelling like it's nobody's business, and it's just a great rewarding feeling, like you said,
Yeah.
for Jade to be able to just be herself, and once she reintroduced herself to her classmates, it was like, Oh yeah, we love Jade. We like Jade all right with us, and we rock with Jade, and Jade is the homecoming queen. So no, those type of things that you shared just continue to cement that we're doing the right thing with
Well,
our
and it's funny
children.
because I had transgender people in my life when I was as early as I can remember. They passed on very, very early. But I think, again, the universe happens whereas life gives you things that you don't realize later how how it affects you. I knew their
Mm-hmm.
struggle, but I was comfortable with them. So I said, Jade, I don't care if you were a bag of potatoes. You're my child. I will love you until, but I said, it's the world that I'm worried about. As your parent, I'm worried about the world because I saw their struggle. But then I also understand that there's so much information and kids are actually, I mean, back in the day, we didn't have, boys wearing pink shirts and pink sneakers. Now we do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that me being older, hell, I'm 48. So I have to ask my kid, what is that? Like, what are you like? So what are y'all wearing? I don't get it. Like, why is that? Why is that a thing? But I think they're more flexible in understanding.
Mm-hmm.
They're so flexible in understanding. And my youngest son is autistic. He's 14. So when I tell you mental health has been in my life since way before I became a counselor, it has given me the patience to love them for what to love them for who they really, really are, but
Mm-hmm.
to also provide them two things: the confidence to push and the awareness of, yes, we have some limitations, but that doesn't mean you change your goals. That means
Yeah,
you change how you get there.
that's it.
That changes how you get there. So like, let's answer my son who's autistic. He's very high functioning, very smart, but socially, there's some things I said, well, maybe that's just not going to be your thing, but you can still be an engineer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can still do that, and we have to figure out education wise, how does that work for you? Occupation wise, after you finish school, how does it work for you? So as long as I'm informed, you'll be informed. So it pushes me to always be informed, so I can help her and him.
I want to stay in this fatherhood space for a minute
I
because
I
because I man, Jade is 17. Like I feel
yeah,
like we've known each other for so long. Like I'm
that long,
like
that long.
okay. Let's go back to when you decided to become a father. How
Uh-huh.
was that process for you? And what were you fostering and were you adopting? How did you end up with
Well,
two children?
so ironically, growing up, I always knew I was going to have four kids. I don't know why, but I remember this moment. I was young and I was looking out a window, and I said, "I'm gonna have four kids." Well, I didn't know how many, I didn't know how much kids cost. So, and was with my partner at the time, their dad, and we one day said, we're ready. I knew that I wanted to adopt. I literally never thought of having my own kids. I never thought that. Yeah, people are
Wow.
shocked. So people thought I adopted because I was gay and I couldn't have kids. I said no. I never thought to have my own kids. I
Hmm.
always and I think because I was already going through things that people didn't know about, I said I don't I don't think I want to have kids. I think I want to help the kids that are already here. You
Hmm.
know, because I needed the help. I think I was projecting what I needed. So we decided that we didn't want to foster because the way my heart works, if I love you, I don't want to see you go. Let's
Hmm.
be clear. So I said we can. So we went through the classes in DC and everything, and we had an image of, okay, so we're going to get a toddler. We got a room set up, and you always have your ideal plan, right? But thankfully,
Yeah.
we had room in that plan to say, but what if the universe says something different? So we get a call one day, and literally one day, March 14th, March 14th to be exact. Jay was born March 1st. March 4th, well, no, March 14th, we got a call saying, hey, there's a baby that's in the hospital that it's the last day before they become, a ward of the state, and we have to place him
What a
somewhere.
state.
Would you be willing to take the child? And I said, well, we already made a room for a toddler, had full size bed, all that stuff. And I called my partner at the time. I said, but can I put you on hold? And I literally called and I said, babe, so they said there's a baby and it's 14 days old. He was like, 14 weeks? I said, no.
Days. No, they said
Like
days.
literally they were still in the hospital after being born. And in that moment, we said, okay. Literally, we said, okay. And I'll never forget, my boss knew what I was going through. And that's why I tell people, if you're going to take these life, these journeys in life, let people know what you're doing so you can get the support you need. So
Hmm.
my boss at the time said, because I think it was about 12 o'clock, he said, well, just go home and because I know this. And they said, so we'll bring the child by tonight. What? Tonight.
To,
Oh, so
oh, you want me to say yeah, and bring him tonight? Oh, okay, hold on.
right. And I knew they would not release the child unless they had certain things in the room, like a bassinet or crib and all this. I said,
Hmm.
we have a full-size bed and dressers. Do you know? I don't know how I did this. I left work at 12. It took me about 45 minutes to get home. I stopped at the time it was Kmart, but they don't have them anymore, right? So I literally bought as much as I could. I don't know how I turned that toddler room into a nursery in 3 hours. I don't know how I did that, but when they
Wow.
came, and then they came late. I was like, oh Lord, they changed their mind. I started crying like they changed their mind. I'm like, but the gift was the baby was born. Well, Jay was born around the corner from where we lived, and we didn't know that they were literally around the corner at the hospital in Southeast. Um,
Wow.
brought the baby over, and no, she came through the door. She said, "Well, okay, well he's in the car seat. Can you go get him?" And it was dark, and I remember looking in the car and seeing his eyes, and he looked like he knew who I was. And from that moment, like literally when I got home, like literally when I brought him in the house and I held him, I said, "Wow, this is happening." And it was weird because how do you get a call that day and you tell all your friends and family? Basically, the call that people got was, "Hey, we got a baby." Usually, you tell them ahead of time, right? We literally called and said, "Hey, we got a baby here. Like now, there's a baby in our house." So, and it
And
literally
you're welcome to,
changed.
and you're welcome to sign up to watch and take care and give us some rest and all that kind of stuff.
Listen, I just wanted diapers and diapers and formula. But it was the most extraordinary feeling because I knew I was in love. Like literally when I held him, I think the third day I broke down. Like the third day of staying home, I lost it. I was like, oh, this is what I thought it was. And I didn't even know if I was gonna have a second kid because I loved Ben Tyler so much. I'm like, do I have enough love to give? I don't know. I was
Wow.
nervous. And then we did it again, and Justin was about a year and a half where we got him. And it's been the most daunting but the most rewarding work because they have their own special needs. But it taught me patience. It taught me
Hmm.
structure. I think structure in ways that I didn't have before. And that's how I ended up being their parent. And it's been a journey.
Man.
Um, they know everything I do. They inspire me. Because one day, my youngest son, I was about to go into a virtual counseling session, and he said, "I hope your counseling session goes well for you." And it touched me because he knew what I was
Wow.
about to do. And it blessed me because some clients are very high risk, so I don't know how I'm going to be in the session. But to feel assured that my kid knows, the work I do, you know, um, and my daughter talks about, the stuff that she's seen me do on TV and on radio. So it makes me proud to let them know that you can find something you love and commit fully to it
Hmm.
while still having a life outside of that.
Well, you took my next question already. I was gonna say, what has being a dad taught you? So you already told
But
told
well,
us.
well, that part. But like I told my family today, I said my children are my mirror. So
Hmm.
they used to reflect things I used to do, not what I taught them, but what I do. Like, oops. Um, but now I give them room to correct me.
Hmm.
I gave them the right to say, "Dad, what you said to me hurt my feelings," or "Dad, I need this from you." "Dad, maybe if you did this way, I could feel better about it." That's the best thing I could have given them because I'm not going to have children in my house and then when they turn 18 and I decide that they're leaving, that they don't know how to voice their opinions in a safe way because this world is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and be able to talk about their expectations. Don't assume
Hmm.
anybody knows what you need. Always walk
Yeah.
into a space knowing that you have the right to say exactly what you need to feel safe and secure and respected. Period. So I give them that room, and sometimes it hurts because they tell me stuff I didn't realize I was doing. I'm like, damn. Well, I'm sorry.
Like,
And it
you
happened
good?
earlier today, like an hour ago. My daughter was like, "Oh, so no apology?"
You're like,
And I
oh,
wa-
wait a minute.
and I was like, "You're right." So what I said was improper, and I apologize. And so then she said, "That's better. Okay, love you. Bye bye." Like literally, that's what the conversation was. So I'm just not.
So how are they doing? You said when you initially brought in Jade, you had a partner who that you're no longer with. How did they take when you guys decided to go your separate ways? How did that affect them?
Well, they were young though. They were very young.
Okay.
But I think now we have this thing where we kind of know that they're the priority. Are we best friends? No. I respect him for the wonderful father he is. You know, I always say if I go tomorrow or I drop dead like this, but my kids are good. My kids are good
Hmm.
because and I think he feels the same way. My kids have two loving homes.
I love
If
it.
something happens over there, they can always be here and vice versa. So we work out things where it's really about communication. So if he has to go out of town, please so let me know like a week ahead because I plan things when they're not here.
Yeah.
So if I know that they're going to be here, they're my kids. I stay home. It's no big deal. Like it's no sweat. And so when he travels for work, I have them here. Or else if I'm traveling for a project or just on vacation, it really is about the conversation that's more about them. And because they have their own special needs, we have to be honest and say, well, what can we do between both households that makes it as congruent as possible?
Hmm.
So, for example, if I punish my son for doing something improper here, when they go back, I say, well, listen, I took the game away for a week because he acted a fool. So this is what I'm telling you. You should not let him play the game
Yeah.
because he's not going to tell you he punished. He ain't going to tell you
Nope.
that. So yeah, or else,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
like no, he's not gonna tell you that.
absolutely.
He
So
not.
I'm like, I know my child. I wouldn't say it. Like, why would I?
Yeah.
There be no, or like or like if the school calls me and something happens and I go and take care of something, I'll send a text or I'll say, hey, I had to go to school and take care of this, but just to make you aware. And sometimes I'll say you may want to have a deeper conversation because they may have that's a counselor in me. So, so Jade or Justin may have some residual feelings that may show up and you may not know what it is. This is what happened. Then you may want to offer them a conversation to see if they want to talk.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I want to go here because I got a few more questions. And I tell Jade and Justin, I'm almost done.
No, you're fine. Trust me, they're good.
Since you're in this line of work and
Hmm.
you are an advocate in the community, what's your take on hypermasculinity? Like, people have so many different takes on it and how they address it, but even with you said you now have a daughter, Jade, who is transitioned who is transitioning. It's just a process,
Hmm.
and you have at the end of the day, the goal is to love and support everyone. But I know probably many of the clients that you probably encounter are dealing with this, especially if they're younger in the schools. I'm learning, especially in my line of work, that there are a lot of young men dealing with this. But what's Cory George's take on hypermasculinity, especially as it relates to adolescents and young adults?
All right. So let me give you my first take. Take the word away. Let me tell you why you take the word away. Because it's associated with behavior that can be shown in any sex.
Hmm.
Because you can have an aggressive male and an aggressive female, right?
That's
So
it.
why is it hyper masculine if you're aggressive, but you tie it to masculinity? That's not really the thing.
Yeah.
Who taught who what and why? Maybe that female is hyper aggressive because something happened to her. Or maybe they were taught that because I want my daughter to know how to protect herself. So,
Exactly.
or the people that they model themselves behind were doing the same action. So they only are doing what was shown to them. It's hard for a child to do opposite of what they've been shown.
That's
So
all
I
I
don't
know.
like the word, yeah. So I don't necessarily like the word hy hyper masculinity because it connotates that it's for well, but that it's only men.
Men, there's women too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
there's girl bullies at school. I was bullied by two girls at school. So please trust me, I can write the book on that. And one of them was a big old manly, manly acting girl. And I say manly now because I'm being funny, but it's not manly. It's that she was quite aggressive. But also we
Yeah.
have to understand that sometimes it is a deflection of being vulnerable.
Hmm.
It is the
That's good.
it so sometimes it's a counterproductive action of being vulnerable. I'm gonna be a hyper masculine, so this wall can be here so you can fear me so I don't have to be vulnerable. I use my aggression to work through things, which never works. It's
Yeah.
never
Never.
worked. Now being assertive is quite different, but being aggressive is never worked.
And there's a difference between aggressive and assertion.
Yeah, yeah, because you could be aggressive and not say a word, but you could be assertive and stand in your truth and say, "This is how I feel," and I'm shaking on that. But
Hmm.
being aggressive says, "I want to conquer you," because aggression is about conquering. It's about
Yeah.
conquering something. Period. You don't use aggression unless you're trying to then control something. So then
Yeah.
when we say hypermasculinity, and that shows up in so many different ways, and it also shows up in the thing of, the messages. Men don't cry, men suck it up. You're not, or you're supposed to fight your way out of stuff. That the person who walks away from a possible fight is the weak one. But do you know how much strength it takes to walk away and
Hmm.
turn your back, not knowing if someone's going to pop you in the back of your head?
Listen, you better come on here. You
It
better
takes
come on
strength to
here.
say, I have other choices. So now we have to learn to give our kids other choices, meaning, okay, this was how you thought that you could resolve this, but what did you gain by that? What did you gain by doing it that way? And are you open to thinking of different ways? And so because also teach anger management, there's anger management that is strictly for adolescents, because what's happening is, even even if you are giving those hypermasculine messages, you're also dealing with hormonal changes during those stages of the teen life,
Wow.
right?
Uh-huh.
So those hormonal changes can make you haywire, you know,
Yes,
and you
Lord.
and you're also looking at right now, kids are influenced by so many different things that we don't see. Because if you open a child's cell phone, you may realize that although on the surface you think that they have no reason, to be upset, but then you look at their Kick or their WhatsApp or their Instagram or Facebook, how many outlets are there? You know, and what are those messages? How does that influence how they see themselves, how they see other people, and how they see themselves in the world? So we have so now it's harder. I think it's much harder because for us growing up, there was no cell phones. I mean, you have to wait to get home to call somebody. There was
Listen.
no email. I mean, listen, I learned DOS in high school. That's the best I can give you.
Come on,
You know,
MS DOS. Come on, come on. Come on.
MS
I'm with
DOS,
you.
MS DOS, and QBasic. I can make that rocket ship go up in the air,
Listen.
and that was it.
You don't play with me, no, and don't give me no Oregon Trail on that
Okay.
first Apple, on the very first MacBook. Don't play with me.
Yeah. And now, and so nowadays I have more, and so I have more than stuff on my phone, so I can monitor my kids' behavior, their sites. Or I can turn off certain access to certain things. So now parents have to be vigilant and listen, if you don't have computer skills, get basic IT skills so you know how to monitor, because these kids are smart, as you know.
Smart as hell.
These
Smart
kids,
as
like
hell.
like my kids will tell me something I don't know, and I'm a 20-year IT professional. Like, how do you know that? So I do urge parents to get some basic knowledge of technology, and you don't have to be your child's friend. You don't have to do that. I think your children will appreciate you loving them and giving them structure as opposed to being
Mhm.
their buddy, because their buddy is not meant to give them structure. So their homeboy is not going to give them structure on the basketball court. That's what you're for. So be a loving parent that says you may not like structure, but structure is there so the way you know how to navigate your life when everything comes at you, and that you have a routine that works for you. And not that I can be your friend. I'll be your confidant. Because I tell my daughter all the time, wait a minute. So are you talking to me? Or are you talking with your homegirl? Because I'm like we ain't friends. I love you to life. But no, I'm not 17. So we have to have those boundaries as parents too. It said,
Mhm.
how do I want to raise my kids? I want to raise my kids as wonderful human beings, but also give them the structure boundaries that when they're out in the world, that they can replicate that not just with themselves, but to replicate that with other people so they can stay safe in the world while still being good.
Mhm. That's it. Like the boundary piece is so huge. That's why I think many people forget it. I'll share personally that I have a parent calling me every day. I need your help with my child. I'm like, ma'am, I'm going to help you the best way that I can, but I'm a school administrator. You're the
Right.
parent. Like I'm here as a support lens for you, not the main. So having kids understand the boundaries of, well, you may talk to your mom like that at home, but you're not gonna talk to your mom like that in front of me. Like that's just a boundary that
Yeah.
we are going to just
And
establish.
this is,
Like
yeah.
that's
No, but
your
this is
mama.
why,
Like
this is why it's important that I tell parents, you don't start raising your child at 7. Because
yeah.
their personality is already set. At 7,
Hmm.
if you haven't taught them how to have structure, if you haven't taught them respect, yes, I see little girls or little boys on the Instagram clips cussing people out. That's not cute. because you're laughing at it, it gets some attention. Now they think that's something cute. Then you tell them to
Yeah.
stop, to stop at five. They say, well, it was fun
You
back
stop
then.
me.
Why are
You
you
stop
punishing
me.
me now?
Exactly. You punishing me now, and I've been doing it. So why? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
you are
it's
totally
this thing
right.
of, yeah, and so I do cringe when I'm looking at Instagram. I'm like, these kids should not be doing this. It's not cute. And you're dressing up your child every day, taking pictures and teaching them how to pose. So now they become obsessed with image at 5, at 6, at 7, at 12. And now it becomes a thing that's a validating source.
That's it.
So for me, like what I do is before I even post my kids, if I ever do, I ask them, is it okay if I post your image? So I want to give them the right to
Yeah.
say yes or no.
Hmm.
It's not about me. I just happen to take a nice pic and they'll say no, no, don't post it. Okay, fine. There's no force. I don't need you to be plastered because I don't want you to think that's value.
Hmm.
And parents,
That's it.
parents, if you're offended that I say that you're posting your kids way too much, it should hurt a little bit. It should sting a little bit because we talk about the influences that our kids have, but if you begin to indoctrinate your children at an early age that this stuff matters, unless they're getting
Yeah.
paid gigs and they're getting paid, if it's for free, what's the cost overall? Unless
Yeah.
I'm getting
You're
a
right.
check to unless I'm getting a check to dress up my kids every day and to tell them to pose, and then you get mad if they don't pose right. Some of these parents are really chastising their children because they can't get the best pick. I know they are. I mean, you can't tell me they're not. So it's highly critical that we look at the things that we're doing at a very young age, very young.
That's it.
That sets the tone for everything else that may follow.
That is it, man. That is it. No, you're on it. Yeah, yeah, P Feely, he's on it. Cory, you know I love you.
I know.
But before we get out of here, I got to ask you about this experience. So, can I ask you about Ayana?
Okay.
Okay, so I asked him before I brought it up. So let's talk about it. So
Okay.
the whole fix my life experience. When I say let's talk about it, before we close out, I want to ask
Uh-huh.
you 4 questions about it. What did you learn? What did you gain? Any epiphanies doing it, and any regrets? So I know I kind of gave you a lot, and one thing I noticed that I've always admired about you is even when I saw you on the show, I'm like, this is what Cory does. Like, so the fact that you took yourself out of yourself to deal with things that I was
Well,
like,
that was so really quick because I know we're limited in time. So funny story is
no,
I
we
didn't.
got time.
Okay. I didn't ask to be on that show. I was referred, and
Wow.
and ironically, it was August 31st. I was exhausted from work that day, and the next day was my birthday. So my phone kept going off, and it was my IG thing happening, and I said, well, what the hell's going on? And then it was a producer talking about their casting for the show. And I said, this is a joke. I literally was rolling back over because I was tired. I'm like, child, this ain't real. And then it buzzed again because I guess she saw that I read it, but I didn't answer. And she said, yeah, and then come to find out, this is how the universe worked. I produced and wrote a documentary that was on YouTube. It got about like 11 to 12,000 views on the central topic of what the show was about.
Wow.
And someone who was asked to be on the show was a guest on my documentary. He didn't make the cut, and so he referred me to it. So they already knew that I had already done the documentary. And I said, well, why me though? I'm not really on the side of I'm not really on the side of the broken part anymore.
Hmm.
I wasn't as broken. But they said, are you sure? Because she I'm like, okay, I'll try. Literally, I was like, I wasn't as broken. So when people watch the show, they're going to see that my trajectory was quite different than other people. So that's one thing. So I went through the process and they said, okay, you're coming. Oh, okay. So, and what you guys see is it's 2 episodes, but we filmed for 4 days. So this is the totality of the work that there was a lot of work done that you didn't see. A lot of moments that were filmed even with me by myself that didn't make it because I guess my story was not as impactful because I wasn't as broken.
It's broken.
So I was deemed
Understandable.
the
Yeah.
elder of the group. I was deemed the elder because I was the oldest, so they labeled me the elder. Um, but the good thing about the show is that you saw it was 5 of us, 5 levels of pain. So it went from extreme pain to damn near none, which was me at the
Mhm.
end. what I learned was that everybody deals with it in their own time.
Hmm.
It looks different for different ways because one of the guys, if you saw the show, was um, I think he was a veteran, or he was. So he had those moments where he and Iyanla has intense moments.
Hmm.
Well, now that I'm getting my doctorates in the same thing, I now see what was happening. I'm like, oh, that what was happening. I have clients who deal with
Hmm.
that who were in the military, like, and I'm like, but in the moment, I'm like, what is this exchange? I'm like, this is a bit much. Um, what I gained was a perspective of saying, this is the work I still want to do. I literally left there saying, this is the work I still want to do.
Yeah.
What's the third question? Because
Any
yeah,
epiphanies while doing it?
yes, yes, a big one. So I think when I went there, I think that perhaps there was some intimidation because people knew that I did the documentary, that I knew what I was
Hmm.
doing. But when I went there, I took all that away. I said I was going to show up as Corey George because I wanted people, to see that this cause was important. Um, I remember the last day we were filming, and there was this audio guy, the same one, this like kind of short, it was short, older white guy. And at the end of the taping, and it was a wrap. And I think I said to him, and I'm paraphrasing, I said, so this is my last time seeing you. Thank you for, always making sure we sounded good and all that. And he said something to me that stuck with me until now. He said, it was a pleasure working with you, but I don't think this is your last time on TV.
Wow.
And he said, because see, what they do is when they finish filming, but they run the dailies back and they look at some of the film. He said, every time you came on the camera, we saw something there. And that lived with me. And that was because we filmed this 5, 6 years ago.
Like 5, 6 years, like yeah, like
Yeah.
2017, I think.
Yeah, and I kept
Wow.
it in my spirit because when you don't ask for messages and you get them, those are the ones that you should hold on to. And I didn't know what it meant. I knew that I wanted to do this work in trauma. I didn't even know that I was going to go back to school. And then, and so one of my regrets is one of the big things I said about being on the show. I said, I if it's black men, I need to have a variety of black men. I don't want to have just gay black men. I just feel like that also that pushes the cause that says either if you're molested or raped, then you become gay, or only gay men are raped and molested. And I didn't want that narrative.
Right.
So guess what happens when I show up at the house in the first scene and everybody's standing in front of the house? You know, all of us are gay. I regretted
Hmm.
that. If that was the one thing I regretted, is you had a show about 5 gay black men who were molested, and it could signal this ideology that we either turned gay or because we're gay we were targeted. And I said, damn it. And they could hear us because as we're talking, other people can hear the audio.
Hmm.
And they came out to me and said, oh, you okay? I said, no, I'm not okay. I said, this is the thing that if anything I didn't want to have happen. I said, i I fought for this cause for years. This was my story. And I said, I told them I didn't want to do this in this way because you would be defeating the cause. And I said, but
Right.
nobody talked to an expert about this. I literally went off. And I said, but I'm here now. I'm gonna do this. But just know that I oppose this whole panel.
Hmm.
And that was my regret because I feel like that just the setup was a letdown.
Yeah.
I think the setup itself. And you tell me if I'm wrong. So if you're seeing this and you see all black gay men and it's about rape and childhood rape, it there can be some connotations for people who already
Hmm.
have that idea already, right?
Yeah.
So that was my bother. But but so the message that the guy told me, I stuck with that. So then I developed my own talk show here in DC. Did that very well. I got my first award the first year out. The pandemic wiped that out because the studios were closed. And then last April, this April, May, April, got a call from A&E Network. So
Wow.
what people don't know is that I'm on a new show, and it's called Online Addictions. It's a sister show of Addictions. That people ever watch that show. It's a long running show when they talk about what they're trying to get someone into rehab, right?
Hmm.
So it's shot documentary style. So I got a call out the blue, like literally out the blue. And it was like, well, yeah, we saw your stuff and we are interested in casting for this new show, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so it's already greenlit. and went through some casting thing 3 or 4 times. And the last call, I remember this. I was in the airport, and they said, "So can you meet with the executive producers on Zoom?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going." Well, I was in Houston. I got to my brother's house. I said, "I need to get some time to get on Zoom so I can meet with these producers." Had the meeting, went well. Then the next day, I got a call saying, "Hey, they liked you, so here's your contract.
Wow.
This is what's." And so I've shot 2 stories. So I'm one of the experts on the show. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
That is awesome, man.
yeah. So I haven't talked about it yet because I'm the type of person I don't talk about things until it's reality.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, so this
and
hot off the press, y'all. See, this tell y'all dialogues with doctors the spot. If people want to share stuff, they can. This hot off the press. So y'all better
yeah,
watch it
and
because I'm gonna be watching it.
well, yeah, and I want to talk about it now because they're on the tail end of filming. So I filmed the first episode and I filmed another one when people didn't know I was recovering from COVID. So
Hmm.
I was recovering from COVID and it was a long process, but I'm like, I'm gonna go and film my damn show. So
Hmm.
I went in, I showed up every time I went back to that hotel, I collapsed. um, because it was a toll because I'm still holding space for families that are trying to push someone into addiction. No, I'm sorry, push someone into treatment for online addiction, for gaming addiction, which can be a little different than drugs and alcohol because we see the effects. Like so, we see the effects of drugs and alcohol. We don't always know the effects of porn addiction. We don't always know the effects of gaming addiction, online addiction. So
Hmm.
it forced me to study up so I can help these families. And so I may be shooting a few more episodes, at least 1 or 2. I'm not sure yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Don't know when it starts. I think probably in the summer.
I'm gonna
Probably in
say
the summer.
two. God give him two. Give him three while you at it. God give him one for the trendy, one for each member of the trendy.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is now I have a so now that's why I do so now I have a new title. I'm also an interventionist. So having these experiences, now I can add that stuff on my business card. Now I can
Yeah.
capitalize on that. But also, I have executive producers' phone numbers in my phone. Of
Wow.
so they text me. It's like, what do you think of this case? Is this a case worth going deeper? So now they're trusting me as an expert. So now I have those connections because when I do my show, because in my universe, I think they took Iyanla off so I can show up. So let's be clear. She's gone, but I'm showing up. I'm showing up. So now when I make these connections and I shoot my pilot, and the reason why I'm actually going for my doctors is when you question a black man about his credentials, I say, check mine,
Check him. You better.
check mine. And so it was really to be in a space where if I'm going, because I really want to help families, I want to be able to go in and help families who are dealing with trauma and not really heal them, but put them on a path of clarity and understanding and point them into their resources. Because I
Oh
think
yeah.
what we saw in Fix My Life, which was different. Um, After the show, there wasn't a lot of resources afterwards. It was like, okay, we do this and then we move on. The thing I learned about the online addiction show that I'm doing is we always give them resources such as rehab or counseling in their area. So I would love to
Hmm.
be able to investigate sources of help in that person's area and say, okay, I brought you this far, in these few days, but I don't want to leave you by yourself. Here's some free help. We pay for it. I want you to go out and get your counseling or your rehab or your healing. That way, when we check back with you, that the work still is in progress. So that's one of my
Yeah.
goals.
I love it. I love it. Well, you took my what's next. But how can the people keep up with you, man? Because you are moving. You have a lot of things happening. How can they keep up with you? How can they follow you? Where can they buy sit or stand? Because I've been keeping up. Like I'm
um,
trying to check.
it's no, it's very simple. My handles on social media is Cory George Cares. It's very personal for me. I care about every interaction, so it's Cory George Cares. That's on Twitter and Instagram. You go to my website, which is CoryGeorge.com. I had to buy my own name. I had to buy my own name. By the time I bought it, it was $1,400.
Are you serious?
That was funny because I didn't think anything of it. Then I said, "Oh," but what happens is people will look at people who are highly searched, and then they'll buy those names. So somebody bought my name knowing that I would someday want to get it back.
Wow.
But it's mine now, and it's only $14 a year. I'm keeping that. So
No, that's right.
yeah. So when you go on the website, but you find out about my services, you find out about what I do. You can also watch a documentary in like 4 or 5 parts. You can buy the book. So if you want to know anything about what I'm doing, it's normally updated. You go there. You can contact me for, for your counseling needs or for your family um, intervention. I travel if you need me. So listen, I'm trying to save lives through saving families. That's my goal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's it, man. No, no, no. That's how we do it. We take it one step at a time, and we're out here impacting lives. Is what we do,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate you so much, Cory, for joining me tonight. You have shared a wealth of information. You all make sure you go follow him, keep up with him. He dropped some stuff, something fresh, hot off the press that's coming up on A&E.
Hmm.
So we're gonna support him in that regard. And I just thank you, man, for being a consistent brother. I'm so glad that we connected in the DMV. We got to connect more when we get these schedules able to sync,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
between me working and doing this kind of stuff and you working and fatherhood as well, and other things like that, we just casually run into each other, and it's like, oh, and we pick right back up where we left off, which I've
Right.
always loved and appreciate about you, man. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
Um,
you.
I'm gonna close this show out. Don't log out. This shit. I want to run some things by you, and then
Yeah.
we'll be done. Okay, guys. This has
All
been
right.
Dot on the Dock for this week. I will see you guys next Wednesday with another amazing episode. See you guys next Wednesday at 8:00 p.m.